All right, everybody. Today is day 12 of the next 1,827 days. All right. That's the next 5 years. That means we got to go hard each and every day. I had a small delay because of certain things that I've already discussed. Since I'm going to upload this on YouTube, they don't need to know it. You guys in Telegram know. The people on my Facebook know. But the people on YouTube, I don't want to tell the more personal stuff like that. But you guys know what happened. So as far as that, it might have been a delay. I still was doing stuff. All right, guys. I'm still doing things behind the scenes, getting deals done. Some of the people know from DMing me directly on Telegram and on other messaging apps and everything like that, even on Facebook. So, yes, today I didn't have a title for it. So this one, we're going to discuss more so of a general topic. We already broke down how you can have a business based off of non-oil, not selling clothes or anything. We had avocados. I even broke down how you can have raw avocados and you sell them versus you make them into cosmetics and you sell them. I didn't break down specifically what to do with the cosmetics. That could be some research that you do. But if you want me to do that either live on the recording, go ahead and leave that in the comment section, either on Telegram or on YouTube. All right. And then I'll share the link on Facebook, guys. So if that's something you want to do or want me to do, I'll do that. Also, if you want me to break the behind the scenes about what to do on YouTube, doing some streams, right now I'm using Telegram to do this because it takes less of the computer power. And quite frankly, I am trading cryptocurrencies in the background. So while I have that screen open, I'm not clicking the buttons yet. But if you hear a bunch of mouse clicks, like a bunch of them, then that's me trading. I think I might just close down the stream or the screen. I think that's what I'll do. But this is more low key. It doesn't take the power away from the computer like when it's running or something like that. So that's what I like about it. That's what I really like about it. Now, where is the Telegram screen at? Here we go. Now, since this is day number 12, what have you already done? Have you been keeping track of that? Did you make a planner about where you're going to be? Because remember, we broke down where do you want to see yourself in the next 5, 10, 15, 25 years from now, then work backwards. Okay. I keep asking this question to people and say, okay, wherever you are now, are you satisfied where you are now? Many people actually say, yes, I'm satisfied. And I say, do you want to see that same place? Everything exactly the same. Your life, the health that you got, the fitness that you got, the place that you got, the car that you got, everything exactly the same, except 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 25 years from now. The answer is no, you're not satisfied. You're just okay and you're realistic where you are now, but you're not satisfied. Because true satisfied people, I meet them here and there where they're okay with what they got now. And I ask them this question, they're like, yeah. Now, they could just be saying it too. And everybody goes through their ups and downs. But there are some people that are truly, completely satisfied with where they are. They haven't gotten to where their childhood self said, I'm going to be at. But in their adult self, either they got beat down and they just left the goals. They realized the goals were too hard and they just gave up. Whatever it is, they are satisfied. This channel is not about those people that are satisfied. If you are unsatisfied with your life, I want you to smash the like button. Or if you're on Telegram, go to YouTube, give me an extra view, smash the like button, subscribe, and then go ahead and say, I'm not satisfied in that comment section. That's what the live on YouTube will be good for. But if you want me to do a breakdown about the lives on YouTube or how I run those on Facebook, because I do Facebook lives too, on that Use AI and Make Money Online. That's what it's called. Use AI and Make Money Online. That's the Facebook group name. How to Make Money Online in Africa is the YouTube name. Then it's obviously Crypto Chat Africa on Telegram. YouTube, I don't even have access to that channel anymore. So it's just there. I don't have that anymore. It's 2 Crypto Chat Africas on YouTube. But I will be changing the name of Crypto Chat Africa at some point. I want to change the direction. Still will deal with crypto, but I want to change the direction to something else. I want to make it more general. So it's not going to be named Crypto Chat Africa plus somebody else use that name. And if I get big enough, I don't want to deal with, they said we came first and it's some kind of lawsuit. So I think I'm going to change the name. I don't know what yet. but I will be changing the name. Now, let's have this as a topic. Beyond, are you satisfied? Now, since you've established that you're not satisfied, what does your life look like? You might say, and I want you to get very specific. What does it look like? What does it feel like? And then work backwards. You might say, okay, I have a Chevy Cruze. Okay. Some people may have a logo like that. You don't have a car now. You say, I got a Chevy Cruze. I got a house, not an apartment. You got a house that you own, and it's a half an acre of land, or it's 3 plots of land. Depending on where you are on the planet, this sounds different to all of you, because 1 plot of land on a house is actually typically big enough for some people. But you might say, hey, look, the car does not match the house. If you got 3 plots of land or a half an acre with a Chevy Cruze, that car does not match that size of land. You actually would need a better car to match it. But if you say, hey, I'm emphasizing the necessity of having the house over the car, I understand that too. But if you had 3 plots of land and a pretty sized house that matches that, you actually be classified as having a mansion. And you might say, hey, I have a house, 1 or 3 plots of land, and a Chevy Cruze. Then you work backwards. You would say, okay, I'm also working as an engineer doing X, Y, and Z. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I'm helping design the roads and bridges that are happening here and here. You might say in Lagos. You might say the railroad tracks over there in Mombasa. You might say you want to do the airport that's in South Africa. You might say something else. But if you get that specific about your profession, see, the amount of money you make in your profession should be given based on the type of house you got, the type of other things you got around you, because you can't afford those without having a certain amount of money. See, that's what people don't think about. Because when you get to a certain amount of money, at least with me and some of the people I've been around, instead of thinking about this is 25 million of whatever currency you're using, or 25,000 US dollars, or 25,000 pounds, you just say, this costs half a Tesla. This costs 2 Teslas. This costs this much. That's what I started thinking about stuff after a while. It became fun. I gamified it. Not everybody does that. People that have much more money than me don't typically think like that. Some of them do. But that's when you get to certain areas, you start doing that. This is 1 yacht. This is 2 yachts. This is 3 yachts. That's a half a yacht. That's how much that costs. And then in your head, you already know. So when people think, how does, as a side subject, since this is still being recorded in the crypto group, when people say, oh, will Bitcoin become a currency or whatever? If people can think about this is how much a Tesla is, and we don't have to speak in the US dollars or whatever other currency it's in, then yes, you could think of something in Bitcoin, because you could just say that's 5 Bitcoin. And then people say, how much is 5 Bitcoin? I don't have to really talk about the US dollars anymore, but I could translate it to your currency. Yeah, I could translate it to Naira. Yeah, but I just say that's 5 Bitcoin. And then that's the end of subject right there. So yes, if I can think in the terms of cars and homes and boats, then we can think in cryptocurrencies. It's very possible. That's what every currency is anyway, a variation of that. So after we've established that and we worked in reverse, because that's what you do. If it's at year 5 or year 10, whatever that is, now you say 4 years out, what does my life look like? How much money did I have saved up to get toward that? Did I buy it then? No, I didn't buy it. I bought it on year 5. Great. Or it's at year 10, and at year 5, I'm established and halfway there to getting that. Maybe I got the Chevy Cruze first, which I would suggest you get a home first, maybe a smaller one, and then you start to get the other one. Maybe you start getting 1 plot, and you said, I'm on the way of working to get the next 2 plots, and then I'm going to build my house. Hey, however that works, that's how you work in reverse. You start at the end and then work in reverse. When I write my stories, I write the beginning, because that's what normally comes to me first. I write that however much of the beginning, and then I write the end of it. And then sometimes I write the middle. But it's the beginning and the end. If I know where the story's ending, however it goes to the left, right, up, down, it always ends up at that spot. Now, I might change the ending. We might on the road to our goal, we might change it. That's what the plan is for. You made an action plan, and it's okay to change it if it makes sense. Maybe it's turbulence and you have to make a left to get around it. What if you're on a road and the road says, I'm going from I'm going from Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States, and I'm going over to uh, Mombasa in Kenya. Okay, that's where you're going. You're going from one to the other. And let's imagine it was a road, not a plane, but a road that just stretched out. Now, what if there's a pothole in the middle of the road? Are you just going to go in a straight line and just run over it and then maybe potentially crash out because your wheel hit it and then there's a hole in it? Maybe you did. And this is how we go through life. We learn the hard way. You don't realize it's a pothole. But then the second time after your tire and everything got hit, you're like, oh, shoot, that shock. Good thing I got aftershocks. Now you realize that is something that you avoid. So then you go forward and avoid that. So you swerve around it a little bit. Maybe a road is closed and you got to take a detour. That's what we got to do on our road there. That's why we have the destination. That's the end in mind, where we want to be. How we get there, you might have a different profession than what you started with, but the other things in life about the car, the house, whether you're married, whether you have kids or something like that, those things may pop up because you've already predetermined that. You come in with a plan in mind. Now, let's talk about ways that we can get there. Now, we got NFTs. We haven't talked about that on this channel yet. We got ways of music. But if this channel that I'm posting this on is how to make money online, let's think of it in a creative way. Let's think of it in a more creative way. One of the things that you can do to make some money online, other than avocados, you can sell cocoa. You can sell coffee. Because think about this. You got the president of Uganda, President Museveni. All right. The president of Uganda is really making a huge push about getting the proper money for coffee. Right. And if Uganda, for instance, let's see. I got to refresh my memory. I'm going to look up how much Uganda makes off of coffee. So give me just a second to look this up. And I think I will, yep, there we go. Here we go. Let me open this up for you. I will put this in a private window. And I will show you. Oh, dang, I did this wrong. All right, guys. I said how much. I said Uganda makes how much on Germany coffee. I'm like, what the heck? So if I'm not mistaken, I wanted to just make sure before I do it. Yep. Now, here we go. Let's bring this up on the screen so that you guys can see this. Okay, let me make sure this is the correct screen. Yes, it is. Okay, now, here it is. Now, you see, here is how much Uganda makes. $547 million. Fantastic. They produce coffee. Now, here's where the exports go. Italy, 178 million US dollars. Germany, 100 million US dollars. The United States, 53 million US dollars. Spain, 32.8 million US dollars. And Morocco, $30.6 million. Fantastic. Fantastic. It says, how much is it worth? They say it's worth right now, 2022, 2023 numbers will be 840. Let's just round it up and say 850 million. So it went up 300 million almost. Actually, in 1 year from 2021 to 2022, that went up 300 million US dollars. Okay. Now talk about beating inflation. That was before super high inflation. So let's talk about that because that was last year. I wonder what happened this year. Okay, it says marking an 8% decrease in quantity. So less was sold, less was shipped, but it's a 2% increase and a 2% decrease in value compared to the previous financial year. What? Oh my goodness. It said it was caused by drought and pest and whatever. So I guess it depends on where you're getting your numbers from. But we're going to look at it like this. It increased because this is what we got. Maybe this was the 2020 numbers because, when they report 2021, it's probably 2020. So in 2 years, they actually increased. So that means the previous 1 year, I guess it went up and whatever. But talk about beating inflation. So if we're going to look at this, Uganda exports between 500 million and almost 900 million US dollars in coffee. Fantastic. Good job, President Museveni. You're doing a fantastic job. Now let's look at Germany, which does not produce coffee at all. They don't produce coffee. Where do they get their coffee? Okay, let's look at it. They get it from Germany is the number 2 export of Ugandan coffee. Italy is number 1. All right. So Germany doesn't make coffee. They import it. But they said the revenue is 6.8 billion US dollars. Wait a minute. Hold up. Who's running the scam? Wait a minute. Uganda, let's go back to the numbers. If you need to, I will zoom in for you so you don't have to do it on your screen. Look at this. 6.8 billion US dollars, and it's expected to grow annually by 3.28%. The compound average growth rate, 3.23%. So every year, 3.whatever%, and it compounds on the last one. So if it's 6.8, it's 3.23%. Then you add that up. Then you multiply it again. You add it up. That's actually bigger than whatever the rate is because it compounds and it gets bigger and bigger. So it started off at 3.23%, but when you do the percentage, it might be like you increase by 50%. So you might be like 6.83%. Oh, that might only be like a 7 or 8 billion. No, it might actually be $12 billion by 2028. See, it might confuse you, or 14 billion. Okay, might have doubled. Not with these small numbers, I don't think. I'm just giving you an example. But it's 6.8 billion. That's Germany. They import it. That's the only thing they do. They import. They don't grow it. They don't have coffee beans. I want y'all to understand this. And for the people that listen to this on YouTube, as small as the YouTube channel is, you probably won't hear it in the beginning. So I'll go over all of these topics I'm doing again, of course, in the future. But if it's something that you didn't see, maybe give a wow face in the comment section. Be like, wow, then I'll know what you're talking about. Now, Uganda. Let's look at this number. This one is nicer to them. Okay, let's look at the nicer number, the bigger number. All right, we like bigly numbers. All right, so this is June of 2023. Record-breaking coffee exports in June 2023. Fantastic. It says effects of drought and civil war on export figures. Sudan. Okay, because I'm like, where is that happening? Wait a minute. Is this Sudan? Exports to Sudan decreased significantly. Okay, there we go. Robusta. Is that how it's pronounced? And I'll look it up at another time. Oh, actually, I'll do it here. Robusta coffee. Robusta coffee. Oh, I did not know that. I thought that was a location. Interesting. I just learned something now. But anyway, let's stay focused here. Now, here's the number. Let me zoom in right here too. Let's just be nice. No, we're not going to be nice. 850 million, not even 1 billion. But if we were nice and said, let's increase this to 1 billion. So that means the coffee in Germany is more than 7 times bigger than Uganda. And they do not, I repeat, do not make the coffee. But this is why I brought up this section here. I'm very slow on this because I want you guys to know this. It's slow and boring to some of you, and many people will not be watching this channel. That's fine. You can stay where you're at. But if you're looking to do something different, then you will stay with this. And you probably play it on 2x speed if you can understand my accent at that speed. President Museveni, with I think 24 other nations, they are now pushing for coffee to increase in value because they're getting sick and tired of getting pennies on the dollar and exporting to these other nations. I bet you Italy is similar numbers. Italy gets even more coffee from Uganda than Germany does. But I bet the numbers are the same. So you export raw coffee. Then it gets manufactured just like they try to do the oil thing. You export raw coffee to them. Then they do this, quote, value added thing, which means they just grind it up or whatever they do. And then they put Starbucks, whatever the German coffee brand thing is, whatever the German thing. Let's say German Starbucks. All right. Italy Starbucks, whatever version those are. And then they sell it back. Matter of fact, they even sell it to Uganda. That was the thing that he pointed out. You export the coffee, then they sell it back to you higher. Basically, they get your coffee back for free. You exported it to them. You know what they're doing? They're fighting now to increase it where the manufacturing and production is done at home. This is why I brought this up. This is another way for you to make money. Maybe it's not, quote, online. If you do it online, that means you find the production companies that are opening up. You and some other people start to pull your money together. The same money you said, I want to go to Europe. I want to go to the U.S. and Canada. How about you stay where you're at, put your money together with a group of people, and instead of saying, oh, I need $25 from this person, whatever, and asking people have come up to me, hey, come into my farm, $100. Great, that's fantastic. Why don't you just ask a whole bunch of people around you for $5 equivalent? That's all they got. Matter of fact, you don't have to even promise them a return on investment like that because you're small. A lot of you guys can't do that. And promising it is kind of like a lie. You just be like, look, I'm small. If you could support me. You don't come out begging either. You just say, look, I don't have much to give now, but maybe in the future, if you keep up with me, here's my number, here's the contact with this, but I need the support. That's what I'm saying with my NFTs. I made look, buy an NFT if you support me. Matter of fact, here go the support NFTs. They're only $1 or $2 US. That's all. If you want to support with a bigger one, go ahead. If you like what I do, you see that I post all the time. You do this. Hey, you don't have to sign up for a monthly subscription on Patreon. Here's an NFT. Buy one when you feel like it. I don't have much value to give with you right now when I'm that small. How come you guys don't do the same thing? Be honest. You don't have anything to give. That's the point of you asking. You don't have to promise something that maybe you think it will do well, because a lot of times most businesses don't work. So you could just say, if you have the farm, if you have the production plan, look, the production plan is different. You're going to have to, you'd be like, look, are you producing something? You don't say in 1 year. That's another thing that, particularly in Africa, everybody keeps trying to be like, I'll pay you in 1 year, because they think people won't say yes unless it is. Man, if you can't find somebody that's going to be with you for 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, something like manufacturing and farming, they are slow businesses, which is why most companies do not invest in those. That's why most places don't do roads and bridges and trains, because it takes 20 or 30 or 40 years to see a profit. You will be losing money every single year. If you think I'm kidding, think about why China is like, yeah, I'm not investing in African nations like that anymore, because those roads and bridges don't give money like that. They were really using that as a way, okay, we're going to develop it so it can make it easier to export their minerals. I mean, they had their own selfish reasons. You don't blame them. Hey, look, if you could get a benefit out of it, cool. Now, they had bad deals with these, y'all call them leaders. They're politicians. You don't call somebody a leader unless they're a leader. They're a politician. So they got these politicians that made deals. Many people don't know with China, they get 40% of the profits. Now, unlike how the U.S. comes in with bombs and blazing and all of this other stuff and say, we need to protect it, we're going to kill you, and we'll give you something. Like France did. They say, hey, your uranium, Niger, however it's pronounced. I've heard it so many different ways. All right. You get 88 cents, less than $1 off of this. We're going to sell it for 230 euros, which really means, like, depending on how the dollar is worth, it could be $250 or $215. Point is, it's over $200. So they didn't even give them 0.5%, not even 0.5%. Now China's like, we gonna take 40%. So that's a way better deal. Like, okay, right? But that's still not a good deal. You would think max out at 20%. Really, you're looking at 5, 10%. That's how the deal should be. Because you could just be like, look, China, what you gonna do? You gonna bomb us too? We already been getting bombed. You could go and shove it. Unless you make me a better deal, we already broke. We'll put some sticks together and we'll figure it out on our own eventually. That's how people are supposed to come into negotiations. I'm already broke. You're not going to come here and rob me. See, many of you give yourself bad deal. I'm going to pay you all in a year. You know how many people have come to me in my DM? I'll pay you in a year. No. And I tell them, even with their farming business, some of those people are now belly up. But if I believed them at what they were saying, I then would have been into it. And then maybe I got upset. I don't take it personal. It's business. But many of those same people, not even a year later after they told me, their business is gone. They've made many promises to people because they were trying to get the money together. And they say, I'll give it to you in 1 year. Some of these people I broke down. Some of those people actually had helped me after my money was stolen, and I could have been homeless. I will admit that. And their business is gone. Their business is gone. But I took the time to say, do not promise 1 year. That is a horrible business decision. You cannot do that. You're just starting. There's so many roadblocks you don't even know about. Now you got to pay them. And one of your trucks broke down to do a delivery. Insecurity, quote unquote, issue caused by the white supremacists in your country delivering weapons. Then somebody got their shot up or something. You got to deal with that. You don't know what expenses will come up. One of your employees just decide to quit. A fire breaks out. You got less than what you thought for the yield in the farm. You don't know. It could be a drought. But then now you got to pay them because you promised them. And it's in the contract. And they want that. See, these are the problems that happen. But if you space it out to 10 years, which is more realistic, and less realistic, 5 years, that's fair. 5, you could say some kind of return, or you could take it on a case-by-case basis. Whereas like at 5 years, there is an option. We will review it depending on how our revenue is. So you put that in the contract. This is how see this stream right here. Since it didn't have a subject, I'm now teaching you some better business tactics. This in itself, that should be money right there. So again, if you like to support me, I think I should put up the link, Patreon, or you just buy an NFT. It costs like 2 to 4 Matic. Now, I don't have it as of today of this recording. I will be posting those up in a few days. I got delayed because of the thing that happened. So I have those in a few days. So if you're watching this probably on the 14th or 16th, I will have those NFTs. They're only worth a few Matic, and you can come and support. What's 4 Matic? Really, think about it. Some people might say, well, I get an NFT. There's a chance I might even be able to sell it more. Now, I know some people, they might buy 20 of them. Okay, great. Now, they will change to 25 Matic actually after a week because it's like a pre-sale. But anyway, I have NFTs. You want to support, there you go. Because this is worth tens of thousands of dollars. Courses that you take at some of these big business schools. You do this. Let me get back to the point. End advertisement right there. Now, you do this so that you have it set up. Now, getting back to coffee. Now, you could do one of two things here. You could grow the coffee yourself, or you can have the manufacturing plant for the coffee. Let's say you don't know anything about manufacturing. You don't know anything about how the process works. You know how you find that out? Oh, I'm glad you asked. You go online. You start reading books. Elon Musk, as white supremacist as he is, did do one thing about rockets. He started reading books. And over 1 year, he absorbed so many books, he's saying. It just absorbed them, kept reading and learning. You do the same thing about manufacturing. You see a book about manufacturing. If you don't got that much money, you better start saving up for some of that money, pay for some of the books, the other ones, however you get them. You ask some people, hey, you got a copy of this book? All right, can you send it to me? I'm trying to change my life. Manufacturing, whatever you could get online. Start watching YouTube videos. Do a data count. Like pay for your data to start watching YouTube videos. Not those YouTube videos that are going to give you, here's how you do drop shipping. I mean real manufacturing videos from companies where they're saying, here's the manufacturing process. Not those videos that basically have you watch week after week after week. They give you tiny trinkets of information. Yeah, that'll be useful, I guess. And those I would skip around and just watch 5 minutes of a 40-minute video and try to figure out when. I'll be like, skip every 30 seconds. I'll be like, okay, they sound like they talk about something. Let me go back. That's what I would do with those videos. But you watch videos primarily going to read, because this is where you're going to learn more of the manufacturing at least the processes. How do you do the shipping and receiving? Do you have the trucks? How do they come in? Okay. Then when you got that, because you want to do that first, you got the knowledge. You know how a manufacturer speaks. Then you can start going up to investors because now you have a plan. You got the knowledge. So that means you know what to look for. So then you know who to recruit for. Maybe you have for your employees at the current moment, or most of them will be Chinese because that's who knows how to do it. Okay, great. Who cares? Then you can replace them later. You can start ordering or sending out job requests and stuff later. That's what President Museveni said. He said in the beginning, it's going to have about half or less than half that are going to be Ugandan workers. And then at some point, it's going to be like 90%, he said. He said this like last month. He said right now, they don't have the knowledge, so they have to do the same thing that China did. China did this. Now, they had a 50-50 agreement where half the people had to at least be their own, so that they got multiple eyes looking at this and can do some kind of negotiation tactic. Or not a negotiation, but they're on the executive board, that half the people had to be the Chinese workers, that they had to hire the people in the communities, not bring out just somebody else. But if you got to do what you got to do. Even the Kenyan shoe company, I forget what it's called. They said, yeah, they got a manufacturing plant, but they actually still have to have the Chinese workers there. They said eventually the plan is that they're going to have it 100% in Kenya. But right now, they don't have the facilities built yet to do that. Now, that was 2 years ago when I read that. I wonder what happened now. Probably slowed down because of the pandemic and all of that stuff, but their plan is there. They already said it. China even knows that, which is why they even have these 40% deals and all of that, because they know that the jobs will not forever stay in China, which is why they were so heavy to invest in Africa starting in the year 2004, 2002, I think. Yeah. So basically 20 years. They put a 20-year investment into Africa so that they can have the politicians and goodwill and everything like that. That's how movements start. It takes 20 years. So when you see a breakout in a country rebel and they have a revolution like in Mali, Burkina Faso, that stuff took 20 years to happen. That didn't just happen, snap. That stuff took 20 years most of the time. Maybe at shortest under 10, but most of the time these take 20 years. That's how it happens. 20 years is roughly a generation. So basically some old folks got to get the hell out the way and die. And then some younger folks that got a new attitude because they're more likely to adapt to new stuff. That's what happens. So this coffee, you get the manufacturing. Getting back to that. You start looking for the investors because now you got the plan. You got your plan written out. You don't need a, quote, business plan. Most businesses do not have a business plan. Don't get stuck in a business plan trap. You just need a generalized plan about where you're going. Okay, what location will I have this in? Why am I going to have the location there? Is the location prone to fires, floods, or any other natural disasters? Is it an insecurity area? Does it have access to roads there? If not, will I get the money to have roads built as well? Because that's how roads were built in the old days. I don't know if you know this, but in the United States specifically, I know this to be true. Did you know that most of those roads, at least the beginning ones, were built to lead people to the businesses? So if you had a road on your community block in your neighborhood, that was built so that it makes it easier for you to get to, quote, downtown so that you can go to the businesses. That's who was funding them. And then the U.S. government actually chipped in and did the other stuff. And those roads are now built for tanks. Like, so it could be easier to put down the people if they start doing the uprising. That's what many people do not know. People don't know why these things are built, how they're built. Also, many of these roads were anti-black. They put a freeway when black people had their hour. I'm speaking of our elders, but when black people had our towns, I'm trying to think of a specific number, over 30. They said, oh, black people are getting too much money. Put a freeway in between and we'll destroy the traffic. And it worked. Oh, freeway doesn't work. All right, we're going to do something else. We're going to have the people flood the city, poison the water, burn them down, try to lynch them and do all of this stuff. This is what they've done over and over and over and over. Forget a Chinatown, forget a Jamaica town. These are black cities. People do not understand. You can do the same thing in your location, even with your government, as I've heard and seen. They do the same thing to you guys over there. Why? Because the system of anti-black racism is worldwide. You can still build in between them doing that. This time you got the knowledge, the weapon of knowledge. You tell other people about the warning tactics. If we build up and some of the white nations don't like what we're doing, this is the tactic they're going to try to do. Employees, I want you guys to stand together with us if anything happens, because we care about you, the community. That's what you're going to do at some point, but that's later on. Right now, we're going to tell you how to establish your business. I'm getting on a side subject again. I promise that will not happen again. Now that you got your manufacturing location, this is what I want you to do. So remember, you got your plan, which has all of what I just mentioned in the location. Is it safe? Are you going to, if the location doesn't have a road that leads up to it, because you want to have trucks. The primary method of travel will be truck drivers. A lot of y'all should open up a truck driving business. And I'm very, very serious. Y'all should open up a truck driving business. Partner with somebody that gives truck driving certifications, because the truck drivers should be paid a lot more. I understand that in Africa, many of the nations, they don't pay their truck drivers that much, but you gotta start increasing the pay for the truck drivers. You know why? The number one people that are gonna take you from this 850 million US dollars in Uganda to this being $7 billion. See, Germany should be the one getting $1 billion off of it. Hey, we ain't mad at them making a profit. That's fine. Uganda should be getting $5, $6, $7 billion off of it. Now, knowing how this is, they're never going to pay the actual real market value, because everybody wants to make a little bit of cut. That's how it is. Everybody wants to make a cut. So you try to pay, if somebody tells you $10 for something, you go to the market and you try to haggle them down. Okay, this is $10. I intend to resell this somewhere. Hey, I'll pay you $8. I'll pay you $8. That's all. And then they'll be like, no, $8.50. Then you're like, no, $8.25. Okay, cool. Let's do it. That's how it works. Okay, that's fair. They're not going to. So Uganda wouldn't go, even if it got reversed, Uganda's not going to make the 6.8 billion. That's not how it's going to work. It's more likely Uganda could go to 2.5 or 3 billion. That's still 3, 4, 5 times bigger than where it is now. Now, I still would like it to see the 6 billion, and then Germany can make that last 1 billion, that 0.8. That's fine. Hey, I'm fine. You know what? Give us 6. You can take the 850 million. Hey, that's good, because you deserve it. You did your last marketing. Now you got to hustle for real like we do. You got to work your ass off like we do, not just do it because I'm white and I say so. Great. Now, since President Museveni and 25 other nations are leading the charge, what are you guys going to do on top of this coffee thing? Let's bring it back there. What are you going to do when you see the manufacturing companies open up? Remember, I said the truck driving businesses. If you have more manufacturing companies, who's going to deliver the goods? You need truck drivers. So either one of y'all have the truck driving certification classes that they take, which means you need trucks, means you probably still need investors, or you need to work your ass off and buy the trucks. Put your money together. That's the whole point of this video. Put your money together. Make people understand that the business might fail. It's nothing personal. Do not get upset at another person next to you that do it. You get upset with these white supremacist overlords that are making your country broke. That's who you get upset with. But what you will not do, you let these people, and not everybody's going to listen. Some of them are going to say, yeah, I'm not going to get upset. And then you're going to see a wild side. I've never seen sides of people until you involve money. I swear, I've never seen some of the ugliest sides until you involve money. Death, life, politics, and money. Those are some of the hardest things to talk about to people. They get bat crap crazy. And it's kind of understandable with some of that. Politics, no, I don't understand that one. Now, anyway, you put your money together. I just gave you guys, 4 businesses that you can do? Manufacturing, truck driving itself, truck driving certification. Oh, I guess that's 3. Oh, and the concrete. Who's building the roads? There you go right there. That's 4 businesses right there. I just told you guys. Or you could be the middleman and you're the person to find the person that wants to build up the factory, that wants to build up the manufacturing plant, that wants to do all of these things and build the roads. And you're like the real estate person in between. That's 5 different things that you can do. Now that one, albeit, will be the one that costs absolutely no money except for the internet. Now that one actually could make you some of the most money because you have none of the overhead. There are people that have transformed their lives, including one guy that passed away out of Nigeria due to COVID. At least that's what they were saying. And I wish he was still around because he became a motivational speaker. But he had broke down, and I wish he would have described it a little bit more. But his team still runs his YouTube channel. I can't remember what it is, but he moved out of Nigeria, unfortunately. But he described, he was like, yeah, I found somebody that wanted to buy, let's say, like a mansion in Nigeria, but they were in Kenya. They lived in Kenya. And he was like, okay, he still makes his 5%. And he said the first time he got 2,000. He said he didn't know what that was. He thought it was like 2,000 Naira. Then he converted it. And then he was like, whoa, this is how much money is worth. He kept finding deals like that. I told you guys to do that. When I first did the channel some years ago, even in between the crypto talk, I told you guys to do something like that. You find somebody, even within the continent, they want to buy some land somewhere else. You're like, you're in your country. You're in Uganda. You're in Tanzania. You're in Kenya. You find somebody over in West Africa. It don't matter where they're at, actually. They could be in Europe. They could be wherever. You find somebody. Now, that's going to take more time, but you have the properties, the locations. You find the other person and you go out. You make the calls. You make the emails. You make the middleman cut. That's one of the easier businesses that you could do right now. Quite literally. It just takes you the time to do it. You might even be able to do it this month with the next 18 days you got left, 19. You could do it this month, get a sale, boom. There go an extra $500, $2,000, $4,000, depending on what percentage you got with that and how much the home is. Is most likely if you target the more upscale and upper middle class, which is what the biggest target you should be making no less than like $2,000, $3,000 on each one of those sales. No less. You don't have to target the little small, tiny things where you barely make 500. No, you target the ones you're going to make 2,000, 3,000. That's why I say, even with my affiliate marketers, if they really put in the work, and I have to beg and beg and beg people to be like, oh, do this thing. Man, you put me in front. I became the #1 salesperson in 2 weeks at a company I was at. I didn't like selling credit cards to people, which, albeit they didn't have to, quote, purchase anything up front. My best friend, I didn't know. He became the #1 salesperson. Maybe that, you get close to people that are similar to you at whatever stage of life you're at. I didn't realize, and he is good at sales. He became the #1 salesperson at a mattress store he had worked at within 2 months, maybe 3. Every place I go to, I become that person. That's what I specialize in doing. If I had an affiliate marketing selling what I was selling and I agreed to do it, I don't care if I wanted to do it. That's the difference. If you already are set to do it, I worked in a manufacturing plant. I'm no longer doing it anymore. I did it short term so I can learn how to open it myself. Now, I personally worked there in grunt work duties. I've done the other stuff. I smoothed with some of the executives and did all of that stuff. Great. Now I'm in talks with somebody. That's all I'll say until everything's signed. When I put myself in there, I outworked myself. Okay, I'm still going to get paid the same amount of money, no matter how much I work or how little I work. Because they're expecting just a minimum result of whatever. They were like, no, we got to bring this guy back. Oh, are you coming back tomorrow? Because I was doing like a gig app, which means there's no guarantee I'm coming back the next day. I said, yeah. They were wanting me to keep coming and keep coming. Just remember his name. To the point where I was able to then create an extra job that didn't exist to get more work done with people around. But I also wasn't just working. I was talking to people. I went to HR. I went to the executive level. I went to speak to the managers that were over me. I went and spoke to everybody up the supply chain. So I wasn't just quiet. Now, that made some of the coworkers, some of them jealous. They tried to get rid of me. Some of them nitpicked on everything. People don't like to see you shine. Some dude whining and complaining. And I was like, dude, you just a job. You stop getting emotional, dude. Now, somebody else, another guy was like, yeah, I'm hot-headed too. I just would take the anger out on the manager, or I'll just take it out on the boxes. See, I talk, so that get me into trouble sometimes. Now, in this case, it didn't, but it could. I'm one of those people. I'm hot-headed. I'll use my fist more than I would talking. Because if it got to that point, I had to get away from the dude, because the next thing you would have said to me, some fists would have been flying. Now, that's because I get that engulfed in what I'm doing. So that's why I know sellouts. They get super serious about selling out their country because they really are hardcore in it. You notice they do the extremes. They make you suffer and all of that stuff. You can't do that with a casual, you got to be hardcore on it. So if I ever got to that point, I'm going to outdo the suffering that some of these people do. That's why I will never put myself in that position. Because whatever position I'm in, I'm going to outwork you to death. And it's not because I'm competing with you. It's because I'm competing against myself. And then every once in a while, I'll look up and say, how am I doing compared to everybody else? And I'll be like, this person I really can't beat. I don't care about that. I'm just trying to do myself. Because that was one person I just could not do better than. I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's good for him. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But other people are like so mad I'm going so fast. They want to do it. So that's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to be research kings, queens, whatever. I want y'all to turn this around. I want you to work with the president. I want you to work with the politicians in your countries. I want you to push them. You guys should be saying, hey, let me start a coffee company, because that's how you increase it. If you got manufacturing in there, now you put a label and slap that on there. Now that same $845 million worth is now gone double the price, because that's how pricing works. They normally double the price. If you buy something for $1, you sell it minimum $2. That's kind of how it is. And then you make a 20% profit is actually what happens, because you got marketing that you got to pay. You got the salespeople you got to pay. You got bills that you got to pay. So you only make 20%, even though you doubled the cost. You got all these other bills plus taxes. So you actually only make 20%. But that's how a lot of these companies work. So when you see something, okay, a T-shirt for whatever it is, you might say it's 10K Naira. Well, that was 5K. And then from the other part, if they were smart. And in some cases, like with candy, which is why it's insidious with the cocoa bean thing, with candy, that's priced up even more. It's like, okay, if this thing costs $1, I'm only using $1 because that's something we all recognize. If it costs $1, let me take this off the screen so I don't use some, actually, if it's on YouTube, you guys' data is already being used, but I don't need to keep sharing the screen. So let's take this off for a second. But if you guys are using like candy, for instance, you buy it for $1, that same candy that you bought for $1, now you could price it up to $7, or you can price it up to $3, $5. Water, If you bought it for $1, this is the equivalent of how they do these prices. You now price it up to 13. You might price it up to 100. That's the difference. That's how much they make off of this water. Many of you guys don't realize how the pricing is because you don't open up a book and read on this. You don't open up and do your research. And that's what this video is for. Today had no subject, so I'm bouncing around different areas. But the main message is put your money together, open up a freaking book after you've decided what those are. I've told you now 5 different ways you could then make money. 5 different ways, 3 different businesses. Technically 4. All 5 of them could be a business, but one somebody will say is a side hustle, the real estate thing, or the middleman operation. You should call yourself a consultant. That would be one way. A consultant, a manager, something like that. Those would be the more common term. Unless you're a realtor, then you say realtor. Consultant, manager, realtor. Those are the 3 things you can name in that middleman territory, depending on exactly what you're doing. But you work together with the leaders. Now, that's where it's going. This is the easiest way that you can make money because you're not trailblazing anything new. Not leaders, politicians. The politicians are already taking care of the negotiating with international entities. All you got to do, they put out the mat, follow the mat. President Museveni said, we're going to take our country from $54 million or something like that, whatever it was, whatever the GDP. All I know is like something, and he was going to 10 times that. Like and whatever GDP billion or wherever it was. Let me look up the GDP for Uganda. GDP Uganda. Let me look that up. Okay, yeah. So it's at 40 billion, and he said, "I'm going to take this." So I thought it was a smaller number. Yeah. So he said, we're going to take this from 40 billion up to, I think he said 540 billion. So a 10x. That's what President Museveni said. I'm listening to these. I listen to a lot of political speeches. I read a lot of data so that you guys don't have to. All over, from India, China, US, Europe. Man, the European ones are just like a crap show. I can't lie. They just be doing some kind of circle jerk on each other and pumping up their egos. Those are some of the worst ones. It's like, dude, we're going to do this because of this. And they fill with so many lies, too. It's like they're lying about so much. The ones in the US, too. Everything's just fine. Everything's just fine. That's what I'm basically hearing. When they talk, everything's just fine. Like they're not about to crash and burn. Maybe they're saying that because they're going to say we're going to use our military to make sure everything's just fine. But the way everything's going, no. They're just trying to calm down the investors. Everything's just fine. Don't take your money out of Europe or the United States. Everything's just fine. That's all they amount to. But when I hear the ones in India, China, Africa, South America, when I hear those, they sound more real. It sounds like some stuff actually happening. Like when I go to business meetings and I see stuff getting done, and you can see it a little bit. Now, I want to take this next few minutes to talk about something I posted on my Telegram. This is a public service announcement, and then I'll get back to the final subject here, which will be the last, I think, 10 minutes, because we're at 53 minutes now. So the next 5 minutes, maybe less, I'll dedicate to this. So I posted this up about Ghana. This will happen to the rest of Africa, too, at some point. They want to make sure you're broke as hell. They want to make sure that black people worldwide are broke as hell, which is why they're invading and occupying Haiti, because they had a president before they got the United States. It was already proven that the United States did a coup in Haiti. Now, that's a coup, not a revolution like that's happening in West Africa, some of the nations. The other one was fake. The Bonzo family or whatever, that was probably France helping them. That's why none of the nations said anything about it. Now, here's the thing. Haiti had a president that didn't do the COVID lockdown measures and stuff like that, and they wound up dead. Same thing with, was it Eritrea or Tanzania? One of them. and used to be on the World Health Organization, was like, yeah, I don't think this works. We're going to do 3-day lockdown, and that person's mysteriously gone. Isn't that very interesting? Or they tried to do something to them. One of the nations in East Africa, somebody correct me, they're probably going to do it later. I could have sworn it was Eritrea or Tanzania. One of the two. Now, they found somebody, one of the military, to then work against them, which is unfortunate. And then they assassinated the Haitian president because he was speaking like, hey, we don't need to keep depending on the U.S. and all of this stuff. Now, because some of the people on the ground, I imagine this is the reason. Haiti was the first place that Black people had a successfully kicked the Europeans' ass since Europe had pushed Africans out of Europe. Because Africans had occupied Europe for the longest, and they have a long memory. They pass it down to each other. See, this is the thing that the global Black population don't do. We don't be passing our information down. The Chinese have passed down what happened to them, to their children. And I don't know what this thing is. Black people worldwide, we're just so easygoing and lax about stuff. We just don't care about certain things. We don't hold grudges like that. Collectively as a group. Like, we just don't. We just like, whatever, we were fighting with each other. Hey, now we're friends. But that's not how other groups operate. That's not how it is. Yeah, see, that's what I thought. Tanzania. There we go. Thank you. Former President John Pombe Magufuli. Yep, died of, quote, COVID. Exactly. And guess what? Tanzania is at 61 billion and exploded during COVID. 61 billion GDP and didn't have to lock down. Japan didn't even really lock down either. But of course, Japan is a colony state for the U.S., so they didn't mess with them, but they didn't really lock down. And they always lock down. They have so many pandemics and stuff like that happen in their countries, epidemics, pandemics, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. I forgot which one is local and national wide, but they have so many over there in East Asia that it's kind of ridiculous. They know what to do. That's why China even knew what to do during their lockdown stuff. They just were like, okay, this is how we do it, boom. And then they went further. So that's the same thing that happened to the Haitian president. That's the same thing that happened to the Haitian president. But here's the point I'm making. There's a concerted effort against Ghana right now. Now, I noticed this. There was some BBC video that I saw this talked about the tragic state of Ghana debt. And I'm like, BBC? Shouldn't y'all be talking about the tragic state of the United Kingdom, Britain right now? The heck you talking about somebody else? Like, I'm getting tired of y'all talking about other people's problems and y'all pretend like your problems don't exist. That's what needs to be pushed back. Like, dude, shut the hell up and fix your own problem. Then you could come and talk to me. Nobody's going to be perfect, so obviously we got to point out other people's problems. Nobody's going to be perfect when they point out problems. So that's never going to solve anything, saying, well, you cheated on me during a relationship. Well, that's because you did this. It's like, no, that's not how it works. But, BBC, don't y'all got y'all own stuff, like y'all pedophiles and all of that stuff running around over there that you should be dealing with? Like, don't y'all got that to report on in your own country? While you over here, don't y'all have debt that y'all under the water with? Don't y'all have like a prime minister that you could have been talking about that lasted, 40-something days? Because it was so embarrassing that she was just like, yeah, I'm out of here. Don't y'all have other people that are just homeless, just growing and growing and growing, homeless population? Oh, yeah, I forgot. Let's just pretend that doesn't exist because we want to talk about Ghana. So anyway, they used a black person, of course. Afro-Britain or something like that. I don't know. Whatever it was. They used somebody because if they do it, then everybody. See, this is the thing that Africans got to do, specifically Africans and the Caribbeans. Because Black Americans ain't bad like this. We'll see somebody black. Actually, we kind of go to sleep too. But it's even worse with everybody else because we kind of deal with it over here and we know. Everybody else, you see a black person and you just be like, whatever. Somebody else will be like, racism. But it's not because y'all actually are saying, oh, racism, because you don't live in a race-based culture. So when you say racism, it's kind of like you got 10 feet back and it's like this overview of, yeah, they kind of mean, but it's all the way over there. But not realizing that the racism is imposed on you. This is what you all got to start doing. You got to start seeing, I guess it's going to be longer than 10 minutes or 5 minutes. You got to start seeing that if another person has the same skin color as you, they are a white person. They're just a dark-skinned white person. I want y'all to adapt that mentality. If they do the same thing that otherwise a white person would do, and you would jump up and have a problem with what they're doing, that person, this is why we call them white supremacists, because that's what they call themselves. But anybody can be a white supremacist. Notice, it's not white people, it's white supremacists, because the entire world is infected by white supremacy. That's why Indians still bleach their skin to be lighter. That is why darker people, including in China, are treated worse. And dark for them could still be super light to all of us. Like literally, dark to them, you just need a tiny bit of color. And you're dark skinned. You'll be like, no, this person, otherwise, if they weren't Chinese, they would be white. You'll be like, yeah, they would be white. No. That's dark skin for them. So just imagine if a dark-skinned Chinese person is getting treated bad, what you think with your black ass will be treated? And you'll be like, well, I'm not black, I'm brown. We know what we're talking about. So you got to start now seeing that they use these dark faces so that they can confuse you. They use terms like minority in the U.S. and other places to confuse you. You know, when they talk about immigration or migrants in the U.S., they talk about the Mexicans and the other people from South America. But they're talking about in Europe, they're talking about Africans. These people doing trafficking, they talk about Africans. This is what y'all got to start doing. They don't have to call you out directly. The fact that they even trying to associate human trafficking with your black ass, you should have a problem with that. So you're telling me white people don't human traffic? Like, who's doing the human trafficking? Because it clearly isn't the Africans, because they're the ones fleeing. So how could I traffic myself? That don't even make any sense. But nobody questions it. Just kind of go along with it, or they'll be like, "Oh, they're not talking about me. They're talking about them." But we live in a color-based system in the United States. You guys, when you talk about it, you need to start looking at your people and say, "This is a white supremacist." They uphold the system of white supremacy, which means black people at the bottom. Since you're not Chinese and say, hey, they're number two, because that's how they view it in their system. They're number two. The Asians are number two in their book. They said they like the Asians, which is why they didn't mess with them as much. They allowed them to prosper until they get to a certain point. Then in the 1980s, the United States successfully stopped Japan. They're failing to stop China now. They're trying to do the same thing they did when Japan got too big. Japan is a small island nation. They could just nuke them again. Yeah, I guess if it came down to it. So you can't nuke all of China like that. Plus, they got nuclear weapons themselves. So, yeah. They're trying to do to China what they did to Japan. They'll allow you to get big if you're not white, and then they knock you down. What you need to do is this. Ghana, getting back to that, had developed to the point where I think back in 2014 or 2015, they no longer had to take IMF World Bank loans anymore. And in the past, you could look up the articles. They said, hey, we don't want you to help subsidize, aka give money. That's what subsidy means, to cut out some of the costs from to your rice farmers anymore. Stop doing that. If we give you this loan, we want you to stop. Now, they probably told them, don't develop any roads, don't develop bridges, don't develop hospitals, don't help out your nurses, because that sounds kind of familiar in Nigeria specifically, right? Where your nurses and all of this stuff ain't getting taken care of or whatever. Right? Okay. But we know about some of the stuff they said, which was don't help your rice farmers. So the only rice farmers, because they had a very robust rice industry. You would think Africans have been living in the continent for millions, somewhat say less than that, hundreds of thousands at the very least, years, and able to feed each other. Yet now there's some starvation problem. What? You mean the ones that basically invented the entire stuff on the planet don't know how to take care of the problems? Don't make sense. So World Bank said, I'm going to give you this money. You need $100 million? Great. Stop helping your farmers. Whoever that was said, yes, sir, I will do it. I don't like it, but I'll do it. Because we need this money. I'll pocket some of it myself. And guess what? If you don't take the loan, read the book called The Stories of an Economic Hitman. If there was a politician that didn't take the loan, no problem. We'll kill your ass and make sure the other person goes in and they'll take the loan. There were many that did not want to take these. So they'd just be like, okay, we'll kill you. That's it. That's what will happen. So many people are angry with the politicians that are there. But this is what has to happen. You got to have a fearless gene in you. They smashed one roach. Think of yourself like an ant. Roach may be too bad because some people will take that out of context. An ant, and say ants are very strong. They're stronger than their body would otherwise dictate the size of their body. Smash one ant. Here go a whole freaking army of ants. Smash this, smash that one, smash that one. You sprayed the bug spray on them. Oh, some of them still survive. They're over here. You got to take a lot to eliminate ants. Think of yourself as a worker ant. If they take you out because you're so convinced and saying, no, this is what we're going to do. Okay, great. They can't destroy all of you. Chances are they'll destroy none of you because they can't take out all of you. Obviously, they'll take out some instead of taking out hundreds of millions because Africa's underpopulated, vastly underpopulated. The population should be like 5 or 6 trillion alone. 5 or 6 trillion. Instead, 1.2 trillion. Africa should be 5 or 6 trillion people right now. With the birth rates, with the size of the land, is underpopulated. Their population control thing worked. They're starving you to death. They're killing you to death. But the problem is they can't stop you from giving birth. They can't stop the population growing. That's the problem. That's why they're spreading the LBGT. Guys, y'all need to keep me focused because I'm getting on something slightly different. Let me get back to this so I can say it in this video. That's going to be another video because don't let me start cooking. Ghana refused their loans back in 2015 or 2014, one of the two. They started doing the quote unquote year of return because when you think about it, if Ghana is getting $100 million, $200 million in loans, where are they going to make it up? So to be honest, I look at it as a scam. I look at it as misleading at the very least. At worst, it's a scam, but misleading at the very least, where they said, Black Americans come over and come back, or diaspora, but specifically Black Americans, you come over here, it's the year of return. They implied that it was citizenship. No, it's the normal citizenship program. That's what I noticed, but with one change. That was it. It's still this, I think it's still the same amount of years you got to stay in the country, then you get citizenship. And I'm like, when I saw the citizenship program and I saw this thing, I'm like, man, what a scam. And guess what? When I looked at their numbers, they said tourism revenue went up by X amount of money. So I was like, yeah, see, that's what I thought. It's a tourism thing. That's what it was. It was a trick, but it worked. Hey, however they want to market, because that's what products do. You know what? I don't blame them. Hey, whatever people that otherwise wouldn't have went, they felt empowered. So on the one hand, I'm like, that's kind of grimy. But on the other hand, it's like all marketing companies. You see a commercial about a vacuum cleaner, it's going to over-exaggerate its images about how well it can pick up dirt. Okay, great. Did it lie to you about picking up dirt? Did it lie to you about how much it could pick up dirt? It probably exaggerated a little bit or more of a lot. Hey, that's how this is. It was marketing. I don't blame them. So they didn't have to rely on the IMF or World Bank loans because instead of getting $100 million from them, they got $100 million from Black Americans, $200 million, $700 million, I think what was brought, increase from the Black Americans, more specifically, some other nations, of course, but mainly the Black Americans. That's how much money Black people got in the U.S. Great. Okay. That money was then used to support local businesses, the Ghanaian president, which I kind of don't like too much because he be tiptoeing too much, but I kind of am starting to understand his positioning. But I think he's too weaselly for my taste. but he does do some things good, so I'll give him that. So, although I mostly am against him. But for the things he did do good, he went to Switzerland and he said, hey, look, yeah, we're not going to be exporting this chocolate to y'all. We're going to be manufacturing ourselves. We're going to do that. And I think it was like diamonds or something. It was like something else, silver, something that they make watches. There we go. Whatever it was, the material, platinum, something that they make the watches, because they were like, the Swiss are known for chocolate and the watches. Now it's time for us to do it. He basically told him. He didn't even say, hey, you can have your fair share, like what is President Museveni said, hey, you can still make your profits. He just told them out. I was kind of like, whoa, okay. He went to their country and said, he said, yeah, we're going to do this. This is how we're going to go going forward. We're going to give you a couple of years to ease off and you can find your new export partners, but we're going to do that now because it's not fair. So that's when I had a little bit more respect, because he didn't even say, yeah, you guys got a chance to make profit. He just was like, no, this is how we're going to do it. This is what they did in response. I'm going to share the video when I find it. But they developed their own version of cocoa. Isn't that kind of crazy? Because when Ghana did it, even the South American nations where most of the cocoa comes from, really, they didn't even, because in response, Ghana did it, and then I think the Gold Coast or something, or some other nation in West Africa responded and did a similar thing. So they were like, wait a minute, our two biggest, because they expect 40%, I think, combined with Nigeria. Nigeria didn't do it, but it was like two of the nations. So they were like, this is spreading like a wildfire. It's only a matter of time before Nigeria catches on. And then if Nigeria does it, then we got Brazil and all of them. So we're going to develop our own version of synthetic cocoa. Then this is what they did. This is how sick these white supremacists are. They said it is to save the starving or the child workers. We got little kids that are 7 and 10 years old that are on farms working. Okay, this is a different culture than yours, sir. No, not sir. This is a different culture than yours, dude. So, who cares if that's what's happening? Matter of fact, maybe the children don't have to work if you stop meddling like what you're doing now. So now you're selling synthetic cocoa. Even it was so bad, his delusional rant was so bad. Let me look it up right now. Actually, give me just a second, guys. It was so bad that the white co-host was like, how, let me see. That the white lady that was there said, how is this helping the children when it's being grown in a lab? Wouldn't that make more people out of business? He played it off so smooth. He kind of stuttered. He didn't even address it. He just repeated his talking point. He paused for a second. Like it malfunctioned him. He didn't even show it in his face because, he would have flinched up. This is how good of a liar he was. He didn't show it in his face. He was like a robot, paused up, and he was just like, yeah, we're helping the children there. And he kind of brushed it off, and then he quickly just kept going with his talking point. That's how bad it was. Even she couldn't hold it. And he must have been thinking in her head, this is why some of these white supremacists, they actually don't like the white women, because a lot of times the women will start saying they'll break the ranks every once in a while because everybody likes black people, okay? And the women follow whoever the strongest man in the group are. Sometimes, hey, look, that's just kind of what happens. That's what happens. Women are sometimes race loyal, but sometimes they're not. So she was like, yo, what's happening? I know in the back of his head, he was like, man, I shouldn't have invited this wench on here. So anyway, that must have been a live stream, because when I saw it, I'm like, how come they didn't cut this part out? Okay. Now, another thing they did, they had heavier travel restrictions on Ghana. They were hitting them hard. You're not telling me these white supremacists were not thinking, hey, they're going to cut their exports to us. We need to hit them back. If they're punishing Haiti these hundreds of years later for doing the first uprising, the first successful uprising since the Moors got pushed out of Europe, you don't think they're doing the same thing to Ghana? They're still punishing Haiti. They want to make sure they are a desolate place. They're not going to wipe the people out, which they could. It's a tiny place. They're just going to make them suffer. It's a sick joke to these people. They said, you're punished because you pushed us back. Now, they put heavier travel restrictions that destroyed the year of return money. All right. They lowered the credit rating to Ghana because Ghana was paying back the debts. Now, in my opinion, I wouldn't pay their ass nothing. I'll be like, look, all of y'all, other nations, because I can't do it by myself, because they'll put sanctions on me. They can't sanction all of us. They were talking about this in the 1950s and 60s. Apparently, they went to sleep after they assassinated enough people, enough other regular citizens. But this is what the citizens should be talking about. This point right here. Do not pay the debt that you owe to the World Bank, the IMF. That's the United States Bank anyway. This is what you guys need to spread around. Because when enough people hear it, then your politicians that you call leaders will have no choice but to listen. All they're doing are repeating the needs of the people. Whatever you see them talking on the world stage, they're only repeating what you guys are saying to them. They're not inventing nothing new. Start talking about this. Do not pay the loans back because a whole 25, 50% of the economy is going toward repaying the loan. So instead of going to developing a hospital, stopping homelessness there, they're paying it back. Now, I don't know why they even feel the need to pay it back. I'm like, no. But they lowered the credit rating. What did that do? No foreign investors at all. Because by law, many of these businesses cannot invest in something that has a bad credit rating. So this is why they keep trying to hold on to this fake manufacturing. Like when I hear the meetings with the European Union, with van der Leyen, the president, she says, oh, everything's just fine. Because if she doesn't, and these credit ratings, which they might be a little loyal, but they ain't that loyal. If they rate the euro as junk, all the money would just automatically, by law, they have to sell it off. It'll be a massive sell-off. So when you see the stock market crashes sometimes, that's not because people wanted to sell it. That's because one or two of those companies got rated junk. So what happens if a bank gets rated junk? That's going to be trillions of dollars right off, and the whole economy about to crash. That's what they're trying to hold on, because they keep saying, oh, nothing's wrong with our banks in Europe. Credit Suisse was just a one-off. Then this other one was just a one-off, and the other ones. That's what happens, guys. Now, what does that do to Ghana? Ghana's completely destroyed. On top of that, now they got the BBC. Now they got other marketing to tell them this is bad. Don't touch them because they can't pay their money back. Don't touch them because their economy is crashing. Isn't it when you are suffering that you need the most help? How do you get out of suffering without, okay, you're trying to get out yourself, but there's a little bit of boost that you need. How do you get out when you don't have the extra boost? That's what they're doing right now. So Ghana is now going back with the tail between his legs saying, please, IMF, World Bank, I need a loan. The United States is saying, we need Ghana to play ball, aka we need Ghana to listen to what we say. Notice how things are going to get harder in the country. I, in my opinion, think it's better that they don't take the money than they do take the money. To be honest, it's better that they don't take the loan out. They just need to tough it out, because the restrictions that they're going to put on them, I'm like, okay, you get a short-term relief in some areas, but now you've kind of jacked yourself up. Like, how are you going to do anything? That's how I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, you get a couple of tens of millions of dollars to put here, hundreds of millions of dollars put there. What is that going to do? Now we're going to wrap up the end of this now. I want you guys to listen to this. If you're going to do something, realize that so if we're going to do this, we got to realize that the direction in which you take your next 1,827 days is going to be crucial. You want to set your sail to the right direction. I want you guys to know that you can do it, but you have to develop that plan, put it in a reverse, and develop it backwards so that you got the starting place where you're at. We already know where we start. So it's not like that's something that you got to be like imagining. But you start at the end, and then you start working year by year backwards, and then you start giving yourself goals, and then eventually you'll adjust it. You'll be like, okay, I can do a 1 month goal and I'll be accurate. I'll do a 3 month plan, and then it'll be accurate. Because in the beginning, you're not knowing if that 3 month plan that you did the 5 year, then you had year number 4 where it's at. It's not really a plan for 4, but you're saying, okay, here's a benchmark. Here's year 3, here's year 2, here's 1 year plan. That's the 1 year plan. You got the 5-1. Then you got a 6 month plan, a 3 month plan, a 1 month plan. Okay, you might realize that 1 month plan was a little bit ambitious. You got to tone it down. Okay, now you tone that down. Now you can adjust everything else. That's how things work, guys. That's how things work. I gave you guys a consultant real estate slash manager position that you can be the middleman between different companies and different people and land. I gave you guys the coffee business from the aspect of manufacturing roads and bridges, manufacturing plant. That's 2. Actually, that's 3 things, but those 2 there. Growing the coffee itself. You could even start a business selling the coffee, but you have your own brand, your own type of brews, and then you go sell that to other ones. These are all things that you can do just from one industry. This all is value added. They're leading the way. The government is setting the regulations there. The government is taking care of those things for you. They're already doing it. Now, what you need to do, you need to do your part and fill that gap. They need people that are there. Pull the money together, guys. Pull the money together. All right? They need the people there. Pull the money together. All right? Make that plan. I will catch you all on another one. It's been an hour and 21 minutes. I hope that you got out of this 80 plus minutes some information that you can use. Yes, I went on a tangent here and there. Yes, I got cooking a couple times, but ultimately, here's how we're going to make money in Africa and beyond. Okay. Yes, we can do this. Let's put our heads together. If you got any questions, just reach out to me in the comment section. We got this going. All right, guys. Peace out. Oh, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Smash the like button. Share this with other people. That's important. And subscribe and leave a comment. That helps it in the algorithm. I want more people to see this. Don't just keep it to yourself. Don't think, okay, I'm smarter than everybody else here. Yeah, we need the numbers. That's what we're looking for. We need those numbers to be built up. All right, catch you guys on the next one.